Oh my God, it's just such an unbelievable moment.
Brandon, you also told me, as you can hear the chants from the crowd, let's go, Brandon. Brandon, you told me you were going to.
Good day, this is James Hayden with Crusader Talk Radio and Podcast, coming at you November 2nd, 2021. And as always, we're doing our review of the headlines. Actually, today we're going to do a review of non-headlines. But first, let's thank our emergency responders for saving us from ourselves. And I'd like to thank our soldiers for saving us from all the enemies at bay. Now, today, as I said a minute ago, is non-headlines. Well, what don't we see? So, what happened to Brian Laundrie? Last we heard, they found his bones, not even his whole body, but his bones. And the autopsy was inconclusive. And the reason I want to backtrack a little bit is I made some claims about that case. As I stated, that is no normal case. It is not just a man hates his girlfriend domestic psycho issue. There's more to it than meets the eye. So, this guy murders his girlfriend, travels across the United States, back home to Florida, gets home, he's there like a day. Then him, his mommy, and his daddy pack the van and take off with a bunch of camping gear, according to the neighbors across the street. Which is kind of odd. Why would the neighbors across the street be clued into, having such focus on the daily lives of the Laundrie family? There's a lot of things in this case that are very convenient, overly convenient. It is rather amazing that in the end we find Laundrie dead after he killed his girlfriend. If you look at all the previous cases of domestic violence that end up in murder, everything from OJ, there was that guy, his last name was Peterson, and there have been many over the decades. None of them run away and kill themselves. None of them go commit suicide. Because that's what law enforcement left it as a hypothesis. Well, he must have killed himself, but because all of the organs are gone, it's inconclusive to actually know, so they're just summing it up. And what about the evidence that he's the one that murdered his girlfriend? We know she died from being strangled, but there was no evidence presented about that strangulation. Underneath her fingernails would have been, what's the word I'm looking for? Like little pieces of the cloth from his clothes. There would be skin embedded. There would be threads. That was the word I was trying to think of. There would have been threads embedded in her fingernails and skin from struggling. If you look at the picture, the guy, he was no pro at anything. So, I mean, where's the evidence that he was the actual murderer of his girlfriend? How is it he ends up dumped in a swamp back in Florida? More than meets the eye. And I say that because that was used as a distraction piece against a whole bunch of stuff that was going on throughout August and September. Lots of stuff. We had the Afghanistan issue going on. more Border Patrol issues going on, more President Joe Biden gaffes, memes, his meanderings. Goodness, there was a number of things going on where it seemed like the Democrats were being immoral, and this was used as a major distraction piece. And then as this lost its luster in the press, well, Alec Baldwin pops up as the next distraction piece. And yet another blonde that's dead. Very, very strange. Our culture is very strange. Our society, I'm going to say, has become strange. Our culture has become very strange. Our traditions have become very strange. We have come to a point in which we're using intellect to negate the quality of life that we could have, to negate the value of life even, which is self-destructive in case you're one of them liberal many who are not in the know. So, now, the other thing I want to talk about with Brian Laundrie is, okay, they found his body in the swamp. I believe people are saying all of his organs are gone because the gators ate them all. The fish, the wildlife. Well, within that many weeks, what was it, the last week of October, all of his organs would not have been gone. Don't forget, your skin is an organ. Your hair is an organ. They don't eat hair. Not on purpose. And in that time, there would have been some kind of fleshy muscles or organs. There would have been some material left. They're saying there were no organs left in the body. It was only bones. Think about that. That would be a murderer's paradise if places really had wildlife that would pick the bones completely clean so there's no autopsy. I think it should be reported what exactly was found. Was it just his bones? Was it bones with some flesh? Was there an eyeball left? And I know it sounds like I'm being sarcastic and comedic, but I'm not. I'm very serious. I smell a lie. I smell that fart in the car. You can keep spraying the perfume and air spray, but it just smells like a flowery fart. So as I was saying before, there are other narratives as to what happened between Brian Laundrie and Gabby Petito. Here they are out on the road, heading to Wyoming, to a very rural and remote place where hikers go, but even that many hikers don't go there. And in their course of travel, they have a few problems. They end up with the cops there. They were having big fights with one another. It seems the world wants to think just because they had a heated argument, he murdered her. In all the pictures and the footage that were shown, it was him that had injuries on his arms. I didn't really see any place that looked like she had been choked or grabbed by the face. Most people, if you grab them solidly by the face, your fingers are going to leave little bruises in their cheeks. But it was him that wore the injuries. I often believe, as an opinion, it's more of a passing hypothesis, they set off hiking because of something. Not just because they felt like going to Grand Teton. They set off on the road, I believe, to escape something. They robbed somebody, they ripped somebody off, they screwed somebody over. He banged somebody's wife, and this guy is dangerous, and now everybody's in danger. I believe that their murder was not perpetrated by Brian Laundrie, and I guess I said their murder, so that's what I'm thinking subconsciously, that Brian was murdered as well. I believe they took off, and either trouble followed them from home, or they ran into trouble on the road. You go to some strange places in America, especially when you're looking for really good hiking, camping, rural type places. that have socially evolved away from the big melting pot, so to speak. But something happened besides they had a spat and he killed her. It was all a distraction piece to begin with, but then it has a really weird ending. I'm wondering, has any other situation like that ended with the murderer was found dead with an inconclusive autopsy? I mean, you think about science today in modern times. How can you have an inconclusive autopsy? It's almost impossible. With our ability to test for chemicals, our ability to understand the position, the decomposition rates. I know a guy a long time ago, before there were digital cameras, and I'm talking a long time ago, around 1990, I developed film. And there was a guy that would come in, and he was a special investigator, didn't work for a police department, but he was hired to consult. And he could tell by the plants that were growing somewhere where there were bodies underneath the ground. So, fast forward to modern times, modern science, modern chemistry, modern physics, and all the decades of education that we've had from studying these horrible situations. There's no way that the autopsy was completely inconclusive. Somebody needs to go out there and interview the coroner. They need to interview the sheriff or the sheriff's department that is overseeing this. They need to interview the FBI officers who have done a partial investigation into all of this. The one person that we don't need to interview, though, is the dog, the bounty hunter. That dude needs to go away forever. That was something else that was strange. They brought in Dog, the bounty hunter. When they were looking at it originally, it was a murder in one state with a fugitive that crossed state lines. This gets the FBI involved. It gets marshals involved. There's rewards starting to be offered, so there are bounty hunters that start looking at the case. Dog was never a real bounty hunter. It was his wife. Dog's felonies prevent him from being a real investigator of any type in almost any state. In Hawaii, he could be or work on investigations because he was hired by a company and he was assisting actual licensed investigators like his wife. Bringing in the dog made the whole thing a ridiculous joke. It's sad to say. But that's here and there. But it was just one more thing that shows that this was no normal case. So I'm hoping somebody somewhere with a real budget, go to crusadertalk.com and please donate. We could use a budget. I would like to do a real investigation of the whole Laundrie Petito event. I'm going to call it an event because we don't know if it's a murder, if it's a murder-suicide, if it's a double murder. We don't really know what happened except that a precious young woman with a future died. A young man who may or may not have been an evil asshole is dead. The assumptions ran wild, but there is more to this story than meets the eye. As always, curious and nosy, you've got James Hayden. I want to say God bless. I'm out, and I'm gone.